Hey, y'all, it's Tim Miller from the Bulwark. 60 Minutes just finished airing their big interview with Kamala Harris. And the biggest news coming out of the interview was who didn't show up. So I want to get to the substance of what the vice president had to say in a second. But first, we got to start with what really is the only news that comes out of this interview, which was the fact that Donald Trump didn't show up. And the 60 Minutes had traditionally done an interview going all the way back to the 60s to Hubert Humphrey, doing an interview with both major party candidates. And this is going to be the first time that it didn't happen because Trump backed out. And the Trump campaign, as is their habit, has been lying about this and has been, giving all kinds of reasons why it wasn't really true that they backed out and blah, blah, blah. And so on national television, in front of a massive audience, CBS's Scott Pelley fact-checked Donald Trump's campaign's explanations about why they were not there for the interview, why they took their ball and went home, just like he did after he lost the election. Here's Scott Pelley. It's pretty brutal.
Trump backed out. The campaign offered shifting explanations. First, it complained that we would fact-check the interview. We fact-check every story. Later, Trump said he needed an apology for his interview in 2020. Trump claims correspondent Leslie Stahl said in that interview that Hunter Biden's controversial laptop came from Russia. She never said that. Trump has said his opponent doesn't do interviews because she can't handle them. He had previously declined another debate with Harris. So tonight may have been the largest audience for the candidates between now and Election Day. Our questions addressed the economy, immigration, reproductive rights, and the wars in the Middle East and Europe. Both campaigns understood this special would go ahead if either candidate backed out. And so with that, here's Bill Whitaker.
So I think we can close the book on that one. He has the receipts. They agreed to it. They were planning on going to Butler. Didn't do it because Donald Trump's a toddler, as best as we can tell. Because he's a child. I love that he mentions that they tried to use the Hunter Biden laptop excuse. It's like anytime these guys want to get out of jail free card, anytime they want to write a excuse to their teacher about why they didn't do their homework, it's like it was Hunter Biden's laptop's fault. Yeah, sorry guys, but don't think the teacher's accepting that excuse this time on the Hunter Biden laptop. So Trump gets nailed to the wall. Kamala actually at the end of the interview gets a free swat at him because the interviewer asks her what they think it says that Trump ducked it. And she, kind of didn't get into kind of the media criticism side of it so much. And I think did a nice job of pivoting that answer to talking instead about if he's not going to come on this interview, watch his rallies and watch about how the fact that all he does is talk about his own grievances and himself rather than talking about the American people and how he can make their lives better and how he can bring the country together. So I thought that was a pretty strong answer from Harris. As far as the interview itself, like I said, there was some substantive talk about the economy and immigration and foreign policy, but it was much of what she has said before, talking about her support for small business tax cuts, middle-class tax cuts, talking about immigration, how she supported the bipartisan immigration deal that would have added more assistance to border security and would have reformed the asylum process, something that James Langford, conservative Republican senator from Oklahoma, had negotiated, how she'd want to sign that bill if she gets back in there, but Donald Trump had scuttled it. I think that's a good message for her. She continues to talk about that. On foreign policy, she reiterated a strong allyship with Zelensky and how if Trump got in charge, he'd let Putin march all the way to Kyiv and take as much of Ukraine as he wanted. Which is true and a good contrast for her. They had kind of an amusing exchange about her owning a gun, and she says it's a Glock, and he asked her if she's ever shot it, and she laughed. She's like, of course I've shot it. I was in law enforcement as a prosecutor, went to a gun range. You have to learn, you get trained on the gun. So all of that was good, but not real, I guess, except for that last part about her time at the gun range. That was something that was new to me. But the rest of it was pretty much in line with what you've been hearing from Kamala Harris if you saw her on the debate stage or watched any of her other interviews. The one exchange I want to sit with because I didn't like where CBS was going with it. And I don't want to explain why. Bill Whitaker, who is a good interviewer, he interviewed a couple of my candidates. I believe he interviewed Huntsman. I don't remember if he interviewed Jeb. I think he did. But I've dealt with him before. A straightforward reporter, obviously a serious reporter, 60 Minutes. So this isn't really a personal attack on him. This is just more of a commentary on journalism and corporate mainstream journalism and what they feel like they have to do in order to maintain a lack of bias or to maintain balance or whatever. He asked her about Donald Trump's racist comments, and he didn't put it like that. I want to show you how Bill Whitaker posed the question and then what Kamala Harris had to say.
You have accused Donald Trump of using racist tropes when it comes to Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, when it comes to birtherism, when it comes to Charlottesville. In fact, you have called him a racist and divisive. Yet Donald Trump has the support of millions and millions of Americans. How do you explain that?
I'm glad you are pointing these comments out that he has made that have resulted in a response by most reasonable people to say it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
With so many people supporting Donald Trump, the man you've called a racist, how do you bridge that seemingly unbridgeable gap?
I believe that the people of America want a leader who's not trying to divide us and demean. I believe that the American people recognize that the true measure of the strength of a leader is not based on who you beat down, it's based on who you lift up.
I just think it's a cop-out to frame this question as, you've said Donald Trump is racist. People are saying Donald Trump is racist. I get that you want to be cautious. If you are a news reporter, if you're a straight news reporter, you just don't want to go out willy-nilly calling stuff racist, right? But you also want to be accurate about what you're describing. And Donald Trump making up a lie that the first black president was born in Africa and continuing that lie after he knew it was false is racist. I mean, putting out an ad calling for the death penalty for 5 black men that didn't commit the crime they committed, saying that Haitian immigrants eat cats and dogs. I mean, that's like the oldest racist trope in the book. It goes back to the 70s and 80s, probably earlier. But I've seen newspaper articles about this question with regards to refugees from Asia, 50, 60 years ago now. So we could go down the list of all the other things. The send them back to black Congress people that are from here, that are from America. Send them back to where? So we don't have to do the full hit list. Like, Donald Trump's track record has been unapologetically advancing racist arguments. So if you don't want to call it that, as a questioner, you could say that Donald Trump has said these things that are false about the black president, about black immigrants, about black members of Congress. And he continues to deal in racial tropes and stereotypes with regards to black people. What do you think about it? Right, like, you could frame it like there are ways to massage it if you don't want to call it racist. I mean, I kind of don't see why you don't just call it racist, because it just is what it is. But there are ways to do it. But to do this kind of cop-out answer and to like kind of put it on Kamala, like it's Kamala that's the one that's calling him racist. Like, that's like not true. That's bullshit. If anything, Kamala has, I think, been pretty judicious on that, in that topic. I've certainly called Donald Trump racist more times than Kamala has, I'm pretty sure. So it's, if you wanted to quote someone else, okay, again, that'd be a little bit of a cop-out. But to like put it on Kamala, like make her be on the defensive on this, as if it's her, as if she's making these wild claims, and then even worse, to kind of impute onto Kamala that she was accusing Trump's voters of being racist, right? This idea that, like, you've called him racist, but what does it say then that so many people support him? It's kind of like, do you really want to go here, Bill? Like, you really want to go here? What does it say about all those people? I don't know. Maybe what it says about them is, at best, that they don't prioritize this as an issue. That maybe they have other issues that they're concerned about. greater than whether or not Donald Trump has, advanced many different racist tropes. Maybe there are other priorities they have in their vote. I don't know, I guess, but like, is a good use of your time to ask Kamala to psychoanalyze Trump's voters? Anyway, the whole thing rubbed me the wrong way. And it particularly rubbed me the wrong way because it sparked a memory. And I went and looked for this, and I found that the last, I guess I don't know if this was the last time she did 60 Minutes. She might have done it one time in between. But during the last campaign, when Kamala Harris sat for her 60 Minutes interview as the vice presidential candidate, she had this exchange with Norah O'Donnell. Let's watch that.
On the campaign trail, President Trump has attacked you frequently. He's called you a monster. He said you're nasty and it would be an insult to our country if you became the first female president. Do you see this as just the rough and tumble of politics, or do you view those attacks against you as racist?
Well, this is not the first time in my life I've been called names. And it was predictable, sadly.
Do you think the president is racist?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. You can look at a pattern that goes back to him questioning the identity of the first black president of the United States. You can look at Charlottesville, when there were peaceful protesters, and on the other side, neo-Nazis. And he talks about fine people on either side, calling Mexicans rapists and criminals. His first order of business was to institute a Muslim ban. It all speaks for itself.
President Trump has said he denounces racism and white supremacy.
Again, so they're like asking her to be the judge. Is Donald Trump racist? I think that's more of a fair question than how it was phrased this time around. But again, it feels like CBS, rather than make, like, 60 Minutes doesn't want to rule on this, weigh in on this. And so they're like, we're going to put this on you. What do you think? Is he racist? Is he racist? Is he racist? And then she answers it, finally, after being pushed. Like, Nora has to push her a little bit. And she finally answers it. And then it's like, well, you've said she's racist. It's like, well, you asked me. Like, the whole thing just feels like a little bit of a Mott and Bailey routine to me. I don't know. It's not going to cost Kamala the election. It's not the biggest deal in the world. But I think it's something that we can expect better from at this point. Like, if we can't, call an apple when it comes to Donald Trump, as far as his past of racist comments, then, like, who can we call? Are we going to do that with David Duke? Some people have called David Duke a racist. Some people have called the guy in the white hood a racist. It's just like, sometimes a person passes the threshold where you don't have to play these rhetorical games. And so, anyway, me watching 60 Minutes, that was the thing that I took away the most. But I thought the vice president handled it well. I continue to be pleased that she is out there more, doing more of these types of interviews. With Bill Kristol earlier today, we talked about her interview with Call Her Daddy. Go check that out if you haven't. Tomorrow she'll be on Howard Stern and The View, and we will be right here on this feed, on the Bulwark YouTube feed, showing you the highlights from that and telling you what we think about it. So make sure to subscribe, tell your friends, give us a little thumbs up. We'll see you soon. Peace.